I have in front of me here a selection of SDS drill bits that are being sold on the tvtrade.ie website. So what I've decided to do is just do a collective video to cover the full range of drill bits and give you an overview of how and why you should use them, okay? So basically, in terms of the actual diameter of the drill bits, it goes from 6mm all the way up to 16mm currently, and in terms of length it goes from about 110mm all the way to 1 meter long, okay? So I'll just quickly go through them one at a time and try to give an indication of how and when we'd use them. So we came along and we looked at the example of a 6 or an 8mm here. These can be either used for drilling guide holes, or sometimes there's small plugs that you could be mounting in a wall, particularly for a 6mm. Sometimes a small little plastic plug you push in and you can tack a nail into it afterwards, things like this. So that would be the general use for these particular ones. If we move into the 10mm, this is quite a popular size that we sell on tvtrade.ie. Even this small drill bit like this is popular because you'll use, say, an SDS drill a hole in the wall, and you'll use something like this plug and bolt here, okay? And what you'll use it for is mounting either brackets or sky dish brackets, things like that, into a wall. So that's ideal, and this probably drill bit would be the best selling that we'd have on tvtrade.ie. Now the 12mm version of that is exactly the same reason, and it's used for the same things, which is mounting satellite dishes, things like this, and there's a slightly larger plug, which we don't actually stock on tvtrade.ie currently, that you use this in conjunction with, but it can be popular with other suppliers, okay? So we stock that 12mm for that reason. If we move on further down onto the 14 and the 6mm shorts here, okay, these will be used specifically for use with anchor bolts and hilty bolts, things like this. And I'll just give a demonstration here of one that's be used with a 16mm drill bit. What you simply do is you drill a hole in the wall. Maybe if you're using something like a H bracket, you might have 4 holes you're after marking out with guide holes, then re-drill subsequently with a 16mm, and then you insert this bolt into the wall, and when you tighten it in, it locks into position, okay? So they'd be used in conjunction, and generally what we try to do on the tvtrade.ie website is we list these bolts as associated products of these, and vice versa. So if you're buying this, you have an idea of what type of bolt you can buy in conjunction with it, okay? So up to this point here, you can see that the bolts have generally been about drilling a hole a certain distance into a wall and using it then to mount something, okay? Now when we get into our longer drill bits here, which come in lengths of 10mm all the way up to about 16mm in diameter, the purpose of these drill bits is to be long enough to drill through a wall, okay? So typical walls would say in modern housing estates and things like this, if you have a drill bit that's 450mm long, it'll be long enough to drill from the outside through the cavity and through the other block straight inside, okay? So just say you come along and you want to run in a single satellite cable, okay? Now a satellite cable will roughly be the thickness of this cable that you can see here, okay? So a 10mm hole is more than adequate to run this through, or if you want a little bit more play in the hole when you're drilling it through, a 12mm hole would be slightly better, okay? Now if you move further up the scale, you can move it into, we'll say, a 14mm hole or a 16mm hole, and the reason that you would use this 14 or 16mm drill bit is if you had 2 cables or twin cable being fed through the wall, then instead of drilling 2 holes, you can simply drill one large 16mm hole and feed the cable directly through, okay? So that's why those drill bits can be quite popular, because certainly with the popularity of things like the Sky Plus box or the Sky Plus HD box now, both of them take twin feeds, so you need 2 cables running through. So both from a neatness perspective and also from a time saving perspective, it's better to use double cable like that, okay? And the final step above that would be the very long so we have a 600mm version of that. That is specifically for use with apartment blocks, because the walls in apartment blocks now generally 400 certainly wouldn't be sufficiently wide, but a 600mm would be just about long enough to get you through any apartment block I've ever come across. And then what we have is a 1 meter long drill bits. We find them quite good and quite popular within the site, but what I'll say on them in relation to this is that they're sort of a drill bit that you might have in the truck with you and maybe only need once a year, but it's great to have it when you when you do need it. So generally old houses, things like this, where you come across unexpectedly thick walls, generally we'll say what we would do if we were using a drill bit like that on a wall, particularly something like this, like the 12 or the 16 millimeter, we would initially come along and drill maybe a 10 millimeter hole a certain distance in. And then what we'll do is we'll widen it with a 16 millimeter hole, and then what we'll try to do is drill the final piece, because unless you have an incredibly powerful drill, you might find that it's quite difficult to drill a 1 meter straight through block using just an ordinary drill. So you just have to use a few little extra tricks to be able to do it. But of the drill bits we sell, they're definitely, from what we've checked on the internet and shops, things like that, we sell them for a fraction of the price of anybody else, and the general quality is excellent. I can honestly say we've never had a drill bit back yet. So that's it, a reasonably comprehensive overview, hopefully, of the SDS drill bits that are being sold on the tvtrade.ie website.